Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Here is it's a replay, but it's been previously unreleased. I recorded this in 2020 with members of my private community. It was called the Show Up community back then. And we spoke to Sean D'Souza, who is brilliant. You'll hear more about, I guess, him and his approach to marketing and building a business in this one. It's sort of part masterclass, but a bit of Q&A with the group with Sean. So enjoy this one and speak to you tomorrow.
Sean, just a bit of context on how I met him. In 2017, in October, I went to a conference called We Are Podcast because Jordan Harbinger was speaking at it. It was in Brisbane. And I had no intention of starting a podcast. I had no idea who Sean D'Souza was. And he came on stage, and I think straight after your speech, I just ran after you and I was like, just wanted to pick your brain. So what Sean spoke about were a few different things. Why I found him refreshing was a lot of marketers, and if you think of like the Gary Vaynerchuks of the world, they're always like, you've got to hustle, you've got to work really hard, you've got to put yourself out there. But Sean is a little bit different. For the last 20 or so years, Sean and his wife, Renuka, have every year taken 3 months off their business. No emails, nothing. And they've kept their community, their business, their podcast going. He's extremely underrated, I think. But I think you've sort of planned it that way, Sean. You don't want to be the Gary V, even though you were mates with Gary V when he was on Twitter all the way back when.
Yep.
So why I've invited Sean is because whenever I listen to his podcast, I get some really practical tools on how to message. And after that, I flew to Singapore to spend 3 days learning about how to write a sales and landing page. And it was the best workshop I've ever been to. So not only is he a great marketer, but he's also a wonderful facilitator and educator, which is something we probably all aspire to be. So Sean, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, and thank you for that introduction.
No probs. Right, so what we'll do is if you would like to participate, ask questions. Wow, there's a lot of people entering. Sean, you're a very popular man, and he's based in New Zealand, Paul. So you've got a fellow Kiwi on the call with you, Sean. What we're going to do is, if in the moment you've got a question, I'd love for you just to pop off mute and ask it. I'm giving you that option. Option 2 is you can raise your hand in the participant panel. When there's a gap, we'll go to your question, hop off mute. Third option is just write the question in chat, #question, and we'll pick it up as we go. That's my job. But the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, Sean, is the feeling of overwhelm. Now, I'm leading the Show Up group, yet I've got show up guilt sometimes. Like, am I showing up enough? Am I doing all of the things? It can get pretty overwhelming. You publish content everywhere all the time. You talk about spinning plates. Can you please share with us how you manage overwhelm and producing content and keeping your business alive?
Yeah, so one of the main things that people, it's like they're thrown into today's scenario. And what we started out was in the year 2000, where it was like the dark ages of the internet. And you only had email. So you had no choice. You could only do email. And that's a very important perspective to keep in mind, because the moment you have all of these multiple routes to take, these directions, like go on YouTube and LinkedIn and whatever, each of them is like learning a different language. And we just had one language to learn. So we learned that language. And then blogs came along, and then we had time to learn that language. And then podcasts came along, and then we had time to learn that language. And now when you enter the internet sphere, or whatever you want to call it, you have all of them together. And so you're like, let me get everything going together. And the problem is that a language does not reveal its secrets to you unless you spend enough time with it. So if you want to understand that language, you have to spend, I don't know, you want to go to South America, not now, but normally you'd spend about a year there, and then you get fluent in the language, and that's how you'd learn a language. And then you decide, okay, I'll go to France and I'll learn that language. I'll go to India, learn Hindi. And you wouldn't say, okay, let me learn 7 languages at one time, which is precisely what you're doing right now. So spinning plates is this concept, which is that you can do anything. So most people, when they get into any sort of business, the first thing they go is like, which route should I take? And the stupid answer and the correct answer is any, because when you take, supposing you decide, okay, I'm going to go on Medium today. If you go on Medium, I have seen people who have been nobody, and then 3 years from now, They have 16,000 followers. They're earning $10,000 a month just on Medium. They're hopeless on YouTube. They're hopeless on email. They're hopeless on courses. And then you have other people who have done courses or workshops or whatever, and they're hopeless in everything else. But what you can do is if you take just say Medium or just LinkedIn, and then you work that, and it takes time. And you find this in most media. Like for instance, a friend and I were talking about podcasts, and I don't have the exact figures right now, but apparently tens of thousands of podcasts start every day. And you think, how am I going to succeed in this world? Well, 90% of them drop out after the 10th episode. I don't have the exact details, but that's approximately the whole thing. So you're not dealing with hundreds of thousands of podcasts, you're dealing with 1,000 podcasts that are going past the 10th episode. But you won't know that. So when we started a podcast, we had like 3,000 people, and then for 3 years we had 3,000 people, and then after X number of years you get like 5,000, then it goes to 15,000, and then without us doing absolutely anything, no promotion, no nothing, we're now at 25,000. And bear in mind that nothing is happening. We're not promoting, we're not cross-promoting, there are no Facebook ads, there is no LinkedIn ads, there's nothing happening. It just happens with time. So what are you really looking at when you talk about spinning plates is just that. You start spinning one plate, and then you get to figure out how that plate spins. And eventually you're able to spin that plate without thinking. You're eating something and you're spinning that plate. When you get to that point, you go to the next plate. Now you're spinning 2 plates. And admittedly, it doesn't take the same amount of time. So if it took you like 3 years to spin one plate, it doesn't take 6 years to spin the second plate. It kind of decreases. To give you an example of the podcast itself, I used to write articles, and it would take me 2 days to write a single article, which was 800 words. And after a while, maybe 5 or 6 years, I was able to write that while conducting a course, while doing everything. And then I started writing like 3,000 word transcripts for the podcast. And for 3 years, I just struggled. I hated every week of it. Now I can do 4 a week. So it's not so much about practice, it's just that each medium has its own secrets, and it's not willing to reveal those secrets to you until you decide to commit yourself to that medium. That's how it works. Yeah, today we can, like, we've got podcasts, we've got courses, we've got all of that stuff. I don't know if your audience knows this, but we're just 2 of us. There's just Renuka, my wife, and me. We don't have 65 people. We don't outsource. And we do take 3 months off every year. I mean, we're coming to the end of this article writing course that I'm doing. I'm taking a month off. Not going anywhere, but taking a month off.
And Sean, your article writing course, you market it as the hardest writing course in the world. I love that. It's like the opposite, because everyone's like, oh, it's the easiest program, but you've gone the other way. Ken actually asked a question, sorry, Ken, in the Show Up community, talking about flow of articles. You said it once took you 2 days to write one article. Now you can just spin them out. How do you do that? How do you get that flow going?
So it's just like the conversation we're having. Now, if we all switch to Spanish, all of us would be struggling. Most of us will be struggling. Some of us might have Spanish as a first language, but most of us will be struggling. What you've got to understand is that anything has, so when we say we're going to write an article, we're really actually achieving about 12 or 15 different things. So the article, when it's broken up, starts off with the first 50 words, then it goes to how does that connect with the base of the article? How do we have objections? How do we have examples? How do we have mistakes? How do we construct the article? How do we design the look of the article? So you're actually saying, I'm going to write an article, or I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to do something, and you just use one word for it. But in reality, there are a dozen things that you're having to do at the same time. And you don't know where you're getting stuck. So when you start off, you get stuck everywhere. And then you get stuck at fewer places and fewer places and fewer places, to the point where you don't get stuck at all. That's when you get speed. So the way I learn stuff, like I just picked up a camera a few months ago. I don't know anything about manual photography at all. And what I did was I just work on one part till I get speed in that, and the next part, next part, next part. Eventually the camera is like, I don't think about it.
Cool, thank you. So just put prompts, I just put a prompt into chat if you've got any questions. We might move on to the second part before we move into deconstructing a sales page and a website page and then looking at copy. But you talk about a 3-prong approach to your business. In fact, you love the number 3. Like every podcast I listen to, there's 3 main items. So what is this 3-prong approach to our business? What is it? Training,
Leverage.
product. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So consulting, training, and leverage. Okay. Let me just explain what it is. It's, instead of using the phrases, let's use, what is consulting? Consulting is one-to-one. So when you, Leanne, or Tom, or Paul, or Selma, or whoever, when you speak to somebody else, like as a doctor speaks to a patient, that's one-on-one. That time can never be got back. What we're doing here is training, which is the second part, which is one-to-many. And then there is the third one, which is what I'd call an Elvis business, where you can leave the building and you have videos or books or stuff that's been recorded, stuff that's been created, stuff that's been made once and then sells 1,000 times or 10,000 times or 1,000,000 times. And really that's what I call consulting, training, and leverage. And what happens is they become doorways. So a client will come to you for consulting, and then you go, oh, wait a second, you should also come to this workshop. And so that same client comes to the workshop. When they come to the workshop, you have maybe a reference to, say, maybe some books or some, I don't know, videos or whatever. They buy into that. And so it doesn't matter where they enter, whether they enter at the leverage stage, which is the book, they get to consulting. If they get to training, they get to consulting, whatever. We started out, I look at it as a pie or a pizza, and you look at it as having 3 slices. When we started out in our life, we had the entire pie was consulting. So I had to be there all the time. I was responsible all the time. I loved it, but it drove me crazy. And so then I said, how can I cut a small piece of that pie and make it training? And so we made the smallest piece of that pie, just a little triangle. And then we had some workshops, which were offline workshops, which I want to stress right now, we're not in an offline zone for most of the world, but offline is just as powerful as online. So whenever we get there, which is 3 years from now, that's when you want to go offline as well. So we made this little slice. We started doing training that led to more consulting, but we wanted to ease back on the consulting. And then as we did that, we started recording those events and we got leverage. Today, I do 1 hour of consulting in a month, 2 hours maybe. And we charge close to $1,000 per hour to do the consulting. So you've got to figure out, how can I take that pie? Because eventually, the way I look at business is that I don't look at business as getting more clients, getting more customers. It's business is, I set out to do business, to do something I love, and to fund everything else, to fund all my hobbies, like photography and cartooning and all that stuff. I want to have more time in my business. This is for me. It's not to just grow stuff endlessly. And that's why we also put a cap to our business. We, in 2007, we decided that 3 times what we need is more than enough. So if you look, say you earn $100,000 or you need $100,000 a year, then theoretically you should cap at 300,000 because 1/3 goes into taxes, 1/3 goes into investments and savings, and 1/3 goes for your expenses. And so we figured that's how much we needed. And our cap was 500,000. And we haven't earned, well, sometimes it gets bad and we earn more than we should, but you can't always control it, but you don't need it. After a while, you find that your sanity is the most important. Your nieces, your family, your whatever is far more important than going on TikTok 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Going nuts just because everybody is telling you to go nuts. And that's so we decided we were going to take 3 months off, but even after that, we decided like Fridays we take off. We do things, which are for us while running a very profitable business.
Yeah. And I think if you sort of resonate with that, I love having that cap and not just growing for growth's sake. So if anytime I need someone to just calm me down because my brain's just going like, I should try all of the things, I tune into the 3-month vacation podcast because it's like, just like keeps it nice and chill. Now, Sean, let's talk about messaging, websites. Do you have any sort of messages or sales pages you want to share with us? I don't know if you want to share your screen and deconstruct something, or if you just want to talk about websites in general, homepages of a website, why is it so hard to get right? I mean, that's why I went to Singapore, because it's tough writing these sales pages. It's tough communicating your value. Where do you see people go wrong in their website messaging?
So there's a difference between a homepage and a sales page. And there's a difference between an article page, a homepage, and a sales page. An article page is precisely how to. People want to get in there, they want to get on the other side having achieved something. So you go how to write powerful headlines when you have a 15-minute deadline. Well, when I finish that article, I should be able to write powerful headlines when I have a 15-minute deadline every time. The homepage, on the other hand, gives you an understanding of, I've just arrived here. It's almost like this, when you meet someone in a lift or you meet someone at a cafe and you're doing this very quick sizing up. Who are they? What do they stand for? What's their philosophy? Like very quickly, you're skimming through their lives just to try and figure out what they're all about. So if you go to the Psychotactics homepage, for instance, it tells you, are you losing customers because you don't understand how the brain works? And then that's a problem. And people lock into the problem, which then goes to the solution. And it says that the reason why you're probably losing customers is because the brain functions in one way, you're promoting yourself in a different way, and so you struggle. And it then talks about, it kind of quite quickly, as I recall, goes into the philosophy. So it starts off with, are you losing clients? Which is what you have to start with. You start with the problem, you go to a solution, and if you scroll down a bit, what you see is the kind of philosophy, which is that you can use this psychology, you can use this stuff that is predictable, stuff that you think is unpredictable, and then there is this objection that pops up. So if you look at what we've done so far, we've looked at the problem, we've looked at the solution, but we've also looked at the objection, which is, why are you giving away so much stuff? Why are there 300 articles? Why are there 300 podcasts? Why are you giving away all this stuff? What's the catch? Now, this was more crucial back in the year 2000, where people were like, wait a second, why are you giving away all the stuff? Where's the catch? And so at this point, what you have is a problem, solution, objection. And you don't have to cover everything. We have a book called The Brain Audit. I don't know if your group is aware of that, but it talks about problem, solution, target profile, objections, risk reversal, uniqueness, and testimonials. Essentially, that's all on this page. So as you scroll down, you see the testimonials, and the testimonials give you a flavor of who we are, why we're different. And so all of those bags, what we call the 7 red bags, are taken off. The problem, the solution, the target is obviously the target person, the client, the objections, risk reversals, testimonials, and uniqueness. That's what the sales page is all about. And when you read that, you go, okay, I've got a brief understanding of, or rather the client coming there goes, I've got a brief understanding of what this is all about. But then you want them to take some action. And in our case, we don't tell them to subscribe. I think, again, it's been a while, but if you scroll down, this is like on the moment there. So we're giving them a feeling of who we are. That's why you have Auckland, New Zealand. That's why you have the photograph of Takapuna Beach. So you get a very quick snapshot of who are these people? Where do they live? Why are they doing what they do? And essentially it drives them to read the report, to why headlines fail. Because when people get to a site, essentially they're there to change something in their lives. Maybe a small thing. Maybe it's about how to write headlines better, or how to write a better sales page or whatever. And you've seen this in a lot of places, but this is the thing that works for us, why headlines fail. You read it in 10 minutes, you understand what causes a headline to fail instead of just randomly copying a headline. So this is a home page. So we had an article page, which is a how-to, and then this is a home page. And it gives you a flavor of who we are and where we come from and what we do. Then we have like a home study. Now, we treat our learning system like karate, which is you go, white belt, yellow belt, and orange belt. So there is a sequence. So when you get there, there is a sequence. But if we just take a sales page, usually on our sales pages, there is a waiting list because we made everybody, and I'll explain this later, but essentially it's musical chairs. I'll explain this later. But there is a difference between reading a sales page and writing a sales page. And this is where people go completely wrong. When you read a sales page, you start off with the headline, you start off with the problem, the solution. So if you scroll down a bit, Leanne, so that problem, which is how to stop knocking on clients' doors and getting them to call you instead, that is the problem. After that, what you get is the problem expanded. So it's like, what is this happening here? What are the consequences of ignoring this problem? And then it goes to the solution, which is presenting the article writing self-study or whatever. We're really running through approximately the 7 bags of the brain audit here, which is the book, just in case you don't know. But how do we start writing the sales pages is crucial, because that's kind of where we get stuck. So you always start off, and this is what Leanne did in the workshop. So you're getting like a mini workshop here. You start off with the features. So you start off listing every single, don't scroll for now. Just,
oh, sorry.
Well, yeah. So say you take the features of, say I've got an iPhone here. And if we were to list the features of an iPhone, then we would have, its height, its length, its weight, what it does, blah, blah, blah. And every course, and you can do this once you've done with the call, go back to a sales page and look at what are the features of a course? What are the features of a product? And you start off with the features, and then you write down like 60 different features, but you just write down the points, which is breaks easily, drops and smashes, whatever it is. You just keep writing them one after the other as fast as you can. And what I always recommend people do is write at least 60 features. Well, yes, because if you go for 60, you probably end up with 35. Now, the question is, where do you put those 35? What you then do is you're literally creating headlines. And we have a different word for this on a sales page. It's called bullets. So if you scroll down a bit, you'll see how-to statements. So those now are features and benefits. A tiny insight in what you will learn becomes features and benefits. But if we scroll down just a little bit, all of those little things that you see, the secrets of formatting an article, learn which headlines work better and why, they're all kind of headlines that come lower down on the sales page. And what we would call them is bullets. They usually have a how, they usually have a why, they usually have some kind of secret, but mostly they have a how and a why. So you take a feature like, say, formatting an article. How to format an article so that the visual aspect makes the reader look at the article and want to read more of it. And how the lack of formatting causes your client to go away. So what we've got here is we start off with the features, we make a whole list, just point after point. We then take it and make it into a how-to. Now, from that, say, list of 60, we take 6 of the ones that we think are the most powerful. We make them into benefits. So what you're seeing in these paragraphs are features and benefits. And the best way to do this is to go back to this call, then go, play back, and then look at the sales page. So we start off with the features, we go write all the bullets, then we go to the features and benefits. And we just take 6 of them because they're paragraphs. It's probably better described if you go to the presentations page. So go to products, home study, home study above, no, books, just to the left, yeah, above 200 maybe. Yeah, the black belt presentations. So here you'll see a good example of it. So if you scroll down, what we see is, so those are all kind of your bullets. So if you've written 60 of those, you just turn them into bullets. And as the client reads it, one of those bullets will get their attention. Not all of them, one of them. And they will buy your product or your service or your consulting for just one of those bullets. And that's—
Yeah, I just want to chime in there, Sean, because when I booked for Singapore, you had this sales page. Like, I was scrolling down for about 5 minutes. I think I read maybe 10% of it, but I just bought. So I didn't even read the whole thing, but because I could see like all of this text and information and credibility, social proof, without actually reading it, I just bought it. Yeah.
So when we look at it, this is the guts of your sales page. You start off with and I'm repeating it because it's not necessarily where people start. You start off with the list, you create your benefits and features, which are really 5 or 6 paragraphs. You take the rest of them, make them into bullets. And now you've got like 30% of your sales page. Now you've got to fill it up with testimonials. You've got to fill it up with risk reversal, uniqueness, all of those things. And if you just go through this page, this black belt presentations, you probably find all of that stuff there. All the testimonials, the short testimonials, the long testimonials, everything. If you just kind of don't have to print this out, take screenshots on if you have an iPad or something, you go, what's happening here? What's happening here? What's happening here? These are short testimonials. These are longer testimonials. Why is this the case? And you'll find that there are also these graphics, for instance. What are the graphics doing? They're very quickly telling you what you're going to get in it. Can we peek inside the book, which is next? Again, we're looking at risk reversal. So people look at risk reversal as, I'll give you your money back. But people don't want their money back. They already had their money before they gave it to you. It's like giving you $100 and you saying, oh, I'll give you $100 back. Who wants to play that game? They really want to get the benefit. So essentially what you're doing is reducing the risk by showing them what's inside the course, by having risk, testimonials that take on specific objections. Now, this takes us kind of to the next. If you
just
really,
Sean, just on this, because I've got a few questions. Everyone's asking about the risk reversal. So first of all, if you can just expand on that a little bit more. And then Lisa's got a question here. What are some good risk reversal strategies when we are selling consulting, facilitation, training, and coaching? So with this book, you've given screenshots.
Yeah.
If we're selling training, is it like a video of us in a workshop, or what would that look like, do you think, on a risk reversal?
It's going to be different for everyone. But essentially what you've got to figure out is that people object all the time. They go, I can't do this because of this reason. Or, I wish I had this information. I don't want to give you a formula because there are most of our clients don't read our sales pages to begin with. They just buy it before they read the sales pages. And so we're reducing a lot of the risk before we send them goodies in advance. We announce stuff in advance. So by the time Leanne knows this to be true, most of our courses fill up in 15 minutes after we've announced it. These are like $4,000 courses. So the reality is that at least for the short term, your sales pages are going to be very crucial because you haven't done all of the pre-selling. People don't know you that much. But if you do it correctly, then in time to come, people won't look at your sales page. So the sales page just still has to be there. You still have to have all the elements. But to answer your question, in a book, you're going to look inside the book. In consulting, people are going to need to read something in advance. They're going to have to watch something in advance. A lot of take for example anything you want to buy today. Say you want to buy a camera today. What is your natural progression? Your progression is, I'll go and I'll check out the reviews on YouTube. I'll check the testimonials. I'll go and check for specific features. So when you look at risk reversals, we really come to a point where we're looking at testimonials, and people just dump testimonials on the page. And you don't want to dump testimonials on the page. You want to look at all the problems that people bring up and then bring up testimonials that counter those problems. So if the person says, oh, you know, I absolutely hate forums, then you want to have testimonials that go, I absolutely hated forums, but here's what I found. Because that's the risk. I don't work well with groups, and your course is about groups, or maybe your consulting is group consulting, and the guy is saying, I don't like groups at all. And then you have the risk reversal saying, I hate groups, I hate forums, I hate everything that this guy was selling to me. And here's why I bought it. And here's what I found. So you're not just dumping testimonials, you're looking at all the objections that people bring up, going to your clients who had those objections, and then getting a risk reversal on that basis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really how you want to tackle testimonials. But the crux of your risk reversal is going to be in the testimonials. The crux of your risk reversal can be in what we send out, which is a prospectus. So the thing is that people operate when they're reading a sales page and differently when they're reading a prospectus. So think of it like, I don't know, say you're at the supermarket and you're checking out. The stuff that you pick up is almost random when you pick it up, right at the counter. But then when you're actually looking for something like cheese or something specific for dinner, you spend time over it. So people spend more time over a prospectus, which could be 80 pages, than over a sales page, which they just skim over. And so you've got to, I don't want to overwhelm you with, oh, you have to do this and this and this right now, because that completely defeats the whole purpose. But understand that risk reversal, if you want to just solve that problem today, then look at the objections that your clients have. Then
how do we get those objections? Because I guess I have an idea of what they might be. How do I discover what the client, do I just ask the client? How do I get into there?
Yeah,
okay.
Usually they either tell you or you ask them, like, what we tend to do is like, we'll say, you know, what kind of apprehension did you feel before joining this course? What apprehension did you feel before getting into the consulting? If you've had a client who's been there many times before, they'll go, oh, I have no apprehension. But we're not looking at that kind of person. So right now I'm looking at a camera which is $16,660 for the body alone. You think I have some apprehension? Right? So that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. As the seller of the camera, I'm saying, why shouldn't I buy a Sony, which is just $3,000, instead of something which is $16,000? So what's my apprehension? And I think you can guess your way as you start off, and you should guess your way when you start off, because you have no choice. But as you get your first client, they will have certain apprehensions. Your second client will have a different one. They all tend to have different reasons why they don't buy from you, or they are hesitant to buy from you. A client came today and he said, I came, I read the brain audit, I found it great, and then I decided your products were too expensive. So I spent the whole year buying products from everybody else, and I spent a lot more, and now I'm back. So now we have the basis for an objection, which is, yeah, you may find the products really well. Go out there, buy more expensive products. When you're ready, come back. Or we take that testimonial and put it on the page. Now, someone reading that goes, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this round trip. I'm just going to start here. And so it kills that objection. A lot of it comes in your email. You have to ask, you have to speak to people. There's no, oh, this is the way. There are many ways to get it.
We all wish there was a way. What I might do, I've got a few questions coming through in chat. I'll throw to Rachel first, who's got a question. And then Megan, I'll ask yours on behalf of you.
Great.
Over to you.
Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Thanks so much for being here. It's really, I'm enjoying and learning from you. I'm curious about the concept of low-key marketing. And one thing that I'm noticing is that you have a lot of content on your website and you're putting out a lot of content. Like you said, come up with 60 things and put them on there. So is that part of the strategy? If you fill your website with good, solid content that answers people's questions and sharing your thoughts on the topic that is your intellectual property that you're sharing, that is what low-key marketing is? I guess I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out that terminology.
So on this call, we've had multiple things going at the same time, right? And your question is, if I understand correctly, I just want to put something on my website. So my answer to that is just be a GPS. So if you look at what a GPS does, it doesn't actually take you to your destination. What it does better than anything else is hide 99% of the map. It just shows you what you have to see. And in doing so, it gets you to your destination. Now, if you remember the old maps, those paper maps, you had to unfold them and go on page 17 and 16C, and you just went crazy because they showed you everything. And the GPS doesn't show you everything. It only shows you the portion that you want to see. So if I was starting up today and I had a brand new website, maybe a completely different thing, low-key marketing in cooking Indian food, for instance. Well, what I would do is I wouldn't show people every possible dish. I would show people where they could use 4 ingredients and they could create a really good dish. So what I'm doing there is shielding them from all of that chaos, all of that overwhelm. What does this mean for you? If you can get even 6 to 8 good articles together, or something that ends up with a result for the client. So maybe you're into meditation. Maybe I struggle with meditation. Maybe you have a method that gets me to meditate for just 5 minutes at a time. Not 20 minutes, just 5 minutes. To make it interesting, you say 7 minutes at a time, maybe. If I read one article and I achieve that goal, then you have become my GPS for that journey. I read the second article, I achieve that goal. You have become my GPS. After a while, I don't question say, what else can I learn from that GPS? How can I take longer journeys? How can I take journeys across the country? And then if you're a pilot, then how can I take the GPS cross country? If you just follow this method of don't information, give me a result. What is that result? You define that result. I want a person to write 3 different types of headlines in under 10 minutes. I've defined the result. Now I write the article, and that's the result they get. And they go, wow, that's amazing. Or they come back and go, it didn't take me 10 minutes, it took me 20 minutes. And then you find out what they did wrong, and then you fix the article. So if you were starting up today, you would not have to have what we have, which is, I don't know, thousands of articles and podcasts and stuff, because people can't consume that. That just is this scary thing in a way. I wish I could just have 10 articles. I'm not going to, yeah. No, I'm not, I'm not going to. But be aware that the first 1,000 subscribers that we got, we had only 10 articles on our website. We had our fonts really bad, our formatting was really bad, but what people really loved about it was that they would get a result. It was a predefined result, and to this day, it's the way I operate. I don't think about it consciously, but I need other people to think about it, because there's a difference. We don't need information. We have information coming out of our ears and nose and everywhere. It's like, what we want is a result. Yesterday, I went to look at some software. I wanted to clip the software in half. I couldn't find it. All I got was screeds of information. I just want a result. So if you can say, I'm into meditation, or I'm into presentations, or I'm into whatever you are into, and you go, if I could define 12 different results and write 12 different articles, or do 12 different podcasts, or do 12 videos, or do whatever you're doing and whatever you're happy doing, and stop there, I promise you people will get there and go, thank goodness I don't have more information and I'm getting a result from this. And that's where it would start, yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate your pointing out like too much content is too much, and if you're starting out, start kind of small. Could you describe on your website how you use going back to the phrase again, low-key marketing on your site, like what tactic it is that you're using, using your website to explain what that looks like?
So what I'm getting from here is you're asking me how we sell products and services. Is that what you're saying when you say low-key marketing?
There was something on your website about low-key marketing that I guess I was honing in on, and
Okay.
I'm curious about that and like
Okay.
what that is. And that's something that on your website you say that you do. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's like pick one market, like you said, pick LinkedIn and go that route, and that's low-key marketing, or I think I'm just trying to understand the concept.
Okay, so marketing, as it were, is like you're selling something. You're selling a product, you're selling a service, you're selling a course, whatever. And a lot of it is built on this let's push, 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 which a lot of us, well, at least 50% of the planet goes, I don't want to do that. So 50% of them might be okay with it. 50% go, I don't want to do that. What I ask people to do is treat it like a wedding. So let's say there's a wedding a year from now. How come everybody shows up to the wedding? The answer is there is no push, push, push. It's just subtle announcements. It's like, we have decided to get married next year. Let's assume now that I'm having and I'm doing this right now, okay? Supposing I wanted to sell something to you. I wouldn't sell anything. I wouldn't show you any sales page. I wouldn't tell you any price. I wouldn't tell you anything. I would say, we're having a sales page course in probably May next year. Notice, I'm even saying probably May next year. And the moment you know what we do and you know a bit about us, you go, can you give me details? I didn't say anything. I just told you. And it's the same thing as someone says, oh, we're getting married next year and we'd like you to come. And you go, oh, where? So you're just making an announcement. And we proceed to make these announcements on a fairly regular basis. Just, I've finished this first portion of the course of the sales page that we're having next May. There is no price, there are no details, whatever. And then you get people onto some kind of platform, which you could call a waiting list, where people sign up to something so that they're in this, circling the airport mode, at which point you're starting to give them directions. You're saying, okay, this is the sales page. They go to the sales page. They don't see a price. Then, they get some goodies. They get more announcement. They get some more goodies. By the time it gets to the wedding, they've all booked their flights. They've all got their dresses. They've worked themselves up to that frenzy. And it's a small segment. It's a game of musical chairs. So there's urgency. It's a specific date. It's a specific number. When Leanne did the workshop, that was the first time we had 15 people, a limit of 15 people. Before that, we had 35 people. And 35 people would scramble to get to a workshop. Now imagine when we reduced it to 15 people. And so really what you're doing is to kind of get you to some kind of result here is don't imagine it as a product. Imagine it as a party, a wedding, or something that you're going to do. How would you run up? What kind of announcements would you make from now to then? What kind of goodies would you send out to them so that they would be, oh, wow, because really you're reducing risk when you sell the goodies, when you send them the goodies. But those people also can't be on your website, or they can't be just randomly roaming around. They have to be on a list. Just like those planes circling the airport. They're landing at that airport, not any airport. So you've got to make sure that they're on the list. And I mean, if you want to experience this and not buy anything, just go to one of the home study or any of the things on our website, and you'll see how we go about this process step by step by step by step. And eventually, when the day comes, like say, for instance, we just sold out the cartooning course, you go there and in 15 minutes it's sold out.
Yeah, I've got to say, Sean, like he's saying, go there and don't buy it, but just be careful because you probably will end up buying it. Like, because when I listened to your podcast, and I think we'll probably be holding this course in Singapore next year. And then on another episode, you're like, we have a really great time. We bring Elmo, and if you're not there at 9:03, we close the doors. So you're just sharing like the way that you ran your workshop, and I was like, I'm so into this. I want to see how he does it. So when I got to the sales page, I booked straight away.
Yeah, it's very sneaky marketing.
So sneaky.
We tell you everything. We tell you everything and it becomes really sneaky.
The transparent is sneaky. Okay, I've got a question from Megan here. Then Lisa, I got your question as well. So Megan's just starting out.
Yep.
She's got no website, no social channel, no real audience, I would say. So no email list, I'm imagining. Sorry, Megan, if you do. What would, Sean, you suggest as the foundational element to focus on? So what language should she learn first?
So that's the question everybody asks. And the thing is to pick something that's really boring. So most people are trying to find something that works really well. You look at Apple products, for instance. They enter the boring market. Somebody already made phones, they enter the phone market. Somebody already had computers, they enter the phone. So you enter a market that's already what people call oversaturated or saturated. And you would think that it is oversaturated. Think of how many of us have bought, if we're interested in, cooking or meditation or whatever. That market should have been saturated 40 years ago or 50 years ago. Like my grandmother has 20 books. I'm not going to make 2,000 recipes from those 20. I still go and buy another book. There is no such thing as a saturated market. What people are looking for is a different way of something being explained to me. So maybe I bought 20 cookbooks before, but this cookbook has mind maps in it. And I think, oh, wow, I don't have to look at a recipe. I can just look step 1, step 2, step 3, just a mind map. I'm still going to buy this book. And maybe 200 people will think the same way, or maybe 2,000 or 20,000. But suddenly what we have is a really boring idea, which is cooking, that's seemingly oversaturated, but explained in a slightly different way, your own way, whatever your way is. If you're looking at, say, I don't know, maybe Lightroom, which is a software. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine, Simon Lamy, and he said, I want to learn Lightroom. And I go, Simon, you have enough work, you have enough stuff. But he goes, I want to take pictures of my kids. And so I want to learn Lightroom. And I told him, I'll teach you just 5% of Lightroom. Just 5%, just 3 tools, and you'll be able to do like 60% of it. Would you want it? And so that becomes there are 10 million videos on Lightroom.
Yeah. So I think what Megan's doing, she's becoming a strengths coach, and there's, I don't know, Kevin, Megan, if you know the stats on how many strengths coaches there are in the world, but you could argue it's saturated. So where should she begin her marketing efforts?
So then you've got to decide now, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to
9,000.
Yeah.
9,000 strengths coaches. Yeah.
So am I going to do video? Am I going to do audio? At one point in time when I was teaching the information products course, I insisted everybody write books. And this guy, he went and made videos. He just totally didn't listen to me. So he wanted to make videos, and he had over 12 million downloads and ran a business for like 5 years based on not listening to me. So here's what I have to say. Don't listen to me. Listen to what you think you can do from now to 2030. That's what you need to do. So if when I started the podcast, I said, what can I do for the next 15 years? I can do podcasts. But if you said at that point, can you make videos? I would go, no, I'm not. I can't do videos. My room's not. Yeah, I have all the excuses. I can write articles. I can do podcasts. I can do booklets. So do what you think you can do. And that's where you should start. The stuff that you can go for the next 10 years or 15 years, because now we're 20 years. We've been online for 20 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait 20 years to take 3 months off. So.
Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but the point is that there is no answer to that question. The only answer is, what can I do happily for the next 15 years? That's the pathway you have to take. And yeah, hopefully it's not something like TikTok that suddenly the government shuts down.
Something important about owning your platform. And I absolutely love podcasting. It's a delight to interview people randomly. I could do that for the next 50 years. So find what it is for you. I think that's good advice. Lisa had a question about your strategy for low-key marketing and pretending it's a wedding. Now, to do that, I guess the assumption is you need a big list. You need a big audience so people can self-select for that wedding. What if you don't have that? Are there any advantages of having a tiny list?
Well, you probably heard of this company called Pilates, right? And it was started by a guy called Joseph Pilates, and he didn't have a list. All he had was a boring concept. And the boring concept was that he could help you stretch and all this. So he decided, who would this help? And the answer is everyone. Anyone could do with Pilates, But what he did was he founded his thing near a dance school because they needed to be fit without being muscular. And so essentially what he had was just the dance school. And then he created the same thing, which is a waiting list. So people would call him and go, I want to get fit. I don't want to get injuries. And he would go, no, we're busy this month. He had nobody there, but he would make them get on a waiting list until they felt that pressure so that he started building up that list that way. So a lot of people say, you should have 1,000 true friends. Nonsense. You need one client, just one client. We started with one client, we went to 2 clients, 2, 3, you don't really need this thousands and tens of thousands. You start up a cooking class, you start up a strengths class, you talk about painting. There is always one person out there that wants to learn it. Start with them, get the testimonials from them, figure out your system to them, get them to pay you. Move to the second client. Do the same thing again. After a while, you take that consulting, which is one-on-one, make it group consulting. You can do group consulting like we're doing right now. So that's what we did. I used to speak to a bunch of lawyers. That was one-on-one. Quicken, the books company. So I had those one-on-one, and it would take me all day. After a while, I got 12 people like this. It was a teleconference on the phone back then. And each of them would pay me $150. So now, before I was earning $150 per hour, per person. And then when we had a group, they would pay maybe $75, but now we had 10 of them. And so I was getting $750 an hour. But it's still 10. It's not 1,000. And, it's amazing. Just with following this very simple, low-key, step-by-step, no million-dollar goal kind of thing, we've ended up buying 3 houses, traveling. I mean, I don't see why you should put so much pressure on yourself to be world famous, have the flashiest car, do all that stuff. You can at some point in time. I mean, if you go about it systematically and low pressure, you enjoy your life, and then you can go, oh, you want to buy a Tesla? Let's buy 2 today. Let's buy 3 today. It's not beyond. There are many people who can do that, and you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
They're not famous. It doesn't matter. So
yeah,
you don't need a list. You need one person in the neighborhood who's willing to pay you. Then you get 2 people, then 3 people. Whether it's online or offline is irrelevant. You just need them to buy into something that you're selling. That's crucial. If they're just on a subscriber list, well, that works. But what is it that you can get them to buy?
Fantastic. Now, I had just, as we close, got a question from Tom. He asked it at the beginning, but it kind of links into the lifestyle that you lead, that we all want, well, that I want. Tom, did you want to ask it, or are you happy for me to?
Yeah, I don't mind jumping in. Sean, I love your approach to business and the emphasis on balance and not kind of going too hard at things. And I think, one, it helps you enjoy the journey by the sounds of it. But what I'm kind of interested in is the practical element of how the heck do you take a month off when it's just 2 of you? Who keeps the inquiries answered, and how do you structure things? Any tips for us that kind of feel like we're working 7 days?
Yeah, so we work 7 days as well. So just to understand that we didn't start out that way. But after about 2 years of doing that, working 7 days, I decided that's not why I got into business. I got into business to have a life. I mean, if I didn't want a life, I could just get a job and just, be at someone's beck and call the whole time. So what we had to do was we had to work that 3-prong system, which is how do we get more leverage? How do we get more training? Because remember what I said earlier, instead of doing $150 an hour call, I was doing with 10 people. So maybe I was earning $500 an hour, or maybe I was earning $750. So I didn't have to work for the rest of the hours. A lot of my life is spent around making more time rather than making more money. And if you look at how do you do things, you look at, okay, how can I kind of get 1 day off? Say I'm working 7 days. How can I do the same thing in 6 days? How can I do the same thing in 5 days? You're not talking about more clients or more money or whatever. You're just reducing the amount of hours that you take to achieve exactly the same thing. Once you get to the point where, say, you're doing the same job in like 4 days, then you go, oh, wait, so I have that 5th day free to create something that then becomes leverage, or then becomes training, or then becomes, you're always looking at how can I increase the amount of time rather than how can I increase the amount of money. You want to cover your bills, but you're always looking at how to increase the amount of time. Once we got to that point, then everything became like for us, we send out newsletters, they're queued in advance. We send out stuff to the members. The members know that we're not there for a month, but when we are there for 9 months of the year, we're there all the time. I came back to the membership site where I was on holiday and they threw me out. They said, how dare you? I mean, we're trying to be like you and you're becoming like us. Get out. So it's, you know, you get clients that like you and respect you and won't let you overwork if while you're there, you give them your all. And so the emails are handled. We don't have any problematic clients anymore. We used to, but we don't. And so anybody, I mean, I could say to you, Tom, handle the email for a month. And you go, this is so boring. Because no one complains. There's a standard answer like, oh, maybe someone will say, I didn't get this download. You can give them the download. Or they'll say, oh, I want Sean to answer this question. You go, oh, Sean's having wine in Spain. And they go, oh, good, let him have wine. There's no hurry. When he gets back, he can answer the question. It's how you, when you're there, it's like being with a kid. When you're there, full attention. When you're gone, the kid knows, oh, when they get back, I'll get the attention. It's not a very complicated formula.
Thoughts, Tom? Yeah, everyone's like grinning.
Yeah, it's aspirational. It's excellent. Sound advice.
Yeah, it's worked really well, and it's you know, there are lots of pieces of advice you can get over the internet, and they're all confusing. So the one piece of advice I give myself every time is, does this work in real life? Does this work with a 5-year-old? If I tell the 5-year-old, I'm going out, but when I come back, I will give you my full attention. Does it work with them? Does it work for a wedding? Does it work for a date? Does it work for my wife? Does it work when I talk to a friend? I look at real life and I go, does it work in real life? Because I don't care about the internet and I don't care about sales and marketing. What I care about is, if I were to say this to someone in real life, would it work? And if it works, it will work on the internet. It will work in a workshop. It'll work everywhere. And treat everything that you do. You go, do I need 1,000 clients? Well, do you need 1,000 dates tomorrow? No.
No.
You need 1 date. And then you figure out, I mean, the analogy starts to break down a bit, but you know what I'm saying. Over time, yes, the bigger the list, the easier it is to sell because only a smaller portion of them buy from you. But trying to pressure yourself into getting 1,000 people at this point is pointless. Instead, just treat it like, I have to get a date, I have to get a meal, I'm going to do one thing today, I'm going to get that one thing done. At least that gets done and you move ahead. I mean, Leanne's probably the best example of this. I'm not praising her. I'm just making her smile like that big high watt smile. But you know, just a year ago, she was working in a job and she has worked on it one person at a time. I have seen her reach out to people one person at a time. She sends videos, these long 5-7 minute videos telling me how great her day is and how great my day should be. So she's working at it one person at a time, not 1,000 people at a time. She has no substantial list that we know of. She has a small list. So, I mean, she's your mighty leader. Don't look at me, look at her. Because our life is slightly weird from your perspective. We take 3 months off. We've been in this business for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. It's all slightly unreal. But Leanne is 1 year old. I don't even think it's 1 year. I don't know. Maybe it is.
It's 18 months actually. So I'm starting to walk now.
Yeah. So that's really, if you want the specifics, ask her, you know, and what did you do first? What did you do second? And you'll find that they're very, very small steps. And the individual, I think, I mean, we all start out wanting to go together. The first time I did a workshop in Los Angeles, I wanted 150 people to show up. 30 people showed up. And 10 of them were because of somebody else. So we only managed to get 20 people. The first
webinar I ran, I think I had 6 people join live.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I mean, I don't know how long we can go on this call, but I'll tell you this.
Sean, if anyone needs to go, you're more than welcome to. But Sean, if you're happy to stay, I'm happy to keep going as well. So if you have to go, that's fine. You can just say goodbye. All good. Watch the recording. Otherwise, happy to let Sean continue.
So when we started out, get to an event, like I speak at events, small events, breakfast time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we'd drive like 100 kilometers. We'd end up there. The restaurant would be closed. 2 minutes before somebody would show up, open the door. You'd find that everybody's having breakfast there. And then we have to speak to 3 people. So you drive 100 kilometers, you wake up at 4 o'clock, you go to a place, 7 o'clock, and you're speaking to 3 people, and everybody else is having breakfast and making a racket. You don't have that problem now. You get more than 3 people on the internet at any given point in time. So if you think of it as a real event, I've flown from here to the East Coast of the US. So I've flown from here to Las Vegas, and from Las Vegas, and I'm in New Zealand right now, from Las Vegas to Pittsburgh in the middle of January. And they tell me it's really cold in Pittsburgh. I had a t-shirt on in January, but it stopped freezing for 3 days while I was there. And I spoke to 15 people. So we had that kind of scenario where we are doing thousands of kilometers to speak to 15 people who have just come for a networking meeting. And you have a much bigger opportunity than that. Because 15 people or 4 people or 3 people will show up on a webinar, but give them your GPS thing. Don't give them information. Give them a chance to get to the point. Now, this webinar has been a mishmash of like articles and this and that and that. But if you've got a webinar or something that's very specific with result-oriented stuff, then take them from this point to that point and hide 90% of the information. Give them only what they need. And you'll find that they will come back for the second one.
Awesome. Any final thoughts or questions for Sean? Right, it has been a mishmash, but it's been good to cover all those sort of topics. What's front of mind for all of us? Thanks for bouncing around.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm quite happy. I mean, one of the things that I want you to understand is that eventually, in the long range idea, is that you can only earn so much money. After that, you can only scale. So you earn, and then you just buy a bigger boat, a bigger house, more bigger houses. You don't get more comfortable. The sofa doesn't get softer. The beds don't get softer. Nothing changes. Eventually, everything comes to a point where, you know, you get an iPhone, then you get a gold iPhone, then you get a gold with diamond iPhone, but eventually it's still the stupid phone. And if you keep that in perspective, then you can start to enjoy your life and run with the best iPhone without the gold and the diamonds and rubies on it, and then have a great life. You don't have to be famous. I started out wanting to be famous, and I'm so glad that didn't happen in that sense, because I go to the cafe and nobody knows me, nobody disturbs me. I sit there and have my coffee. I draw, I read, I do all that stuff. I know that there is this need to be famous, to have more clients, to do all that stuff, and it's perfectly good, but start off with the small, one by one by one. As I said, you know, Leanne can give you that pathway, because that's what she's done in this crowded market, in this scenario, in this whatever. She still bounces off the walls more than most of you would, but by and large, hers is the kind of formula that we started out a long time ago. We just had more time on our hands. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. Where's the best place to send everyone? When we showed you website, Psychotactics, 3-month vacation. What have you got coming up?
Oh, I've got a holiday coming up.
Of course you do.
I don't know. Just start off with the brain audit. Read the brain audit.
Yeah.
It's only $9.99. And you get a money back guarantee on that as well. So read the brain audit, and it'll give you an understanding of how customers think.
Yeah.
And I would say the second thing is go and subscribe to, you're not going to believe me, though Leanne was already circling the airport when she bought the product. It wasn't the first time she had run into us. She's probably run into us 7 times without realizing it when she bought that course. So despite the fear that you might end up buying something, a good thing is to deconstruct what people do and to find people who you agree with. So for instance, say you love spam, you love driving people crazy, you love that kind of stuff. Find somebody like that. Find a spammer and learn everything that they're doing. No, seriously. And if you don't like doing it, then find somebody who resonates with you and see, well, how are they doing the same thing and achieving similar results? So get on that and see what's happening. And people do that. We have people who have signed up to pretty much everything and bought nothing. And we're fine with that. We never throw you off any list. We never do anything. Some people come back after 10 years. Some people come back after 15 years. Some people never come back at all. But that's how you learn. You read the brain audit so you have a perspective on it. You can read it over the weekend, by the way. And the second thing is get on some list and then monitor what's happening, because that will give you a better sense of what to do, what is being done.
Sounds like you need a drink of water, a glass of water, Sean. So we'll let you go. And thank you so much for this. I was actually just sort of trying to capture a lot of your quotes, and we'll get some notes written up on this. And I think we've all sort of appreciated your down-to-earth approach on this and showing us that business is not a prison, that we can actually create a life. That's why we chose to do it and go out on our own, so we can have a lifestyle around it. So you just got to make a start and do those 1%ers. So thank you so much, everyone in the chat, just saying thank you, Sean, for your expertise and
You're welcome.
being with us today. We're so grateful that you're part of this.
Thank you. You're
awesome.
welcome.